Hi guys, just going to do a video for you on how to get started with the investments and loans folio um, for the essentials course. Okay, so obviously task looks like this. Hopefully you've all sort of read through that already. Your first thing is to pick a realistic starting wage. So we've decided that that is going to be somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000. That's pretty sort of right with real world figures. That's roughly what you're going to be earning for your first sort of full time job, either after uni or straight after school. Choose a realistic amount to pay for a holiday. We decided on between $10,000 and $30,000. And the last thing you need to do is pick a investment or loan term. So this is the length of time you're either going to be saving up for or paying off that particular loan. All right, so that's between 3 and 6 years right here. All right, these three figures need to remain the same for your whole folio. Okay, brings us down to part one. All right, so part one, this is if we were going to save up to pay for a holiday. And the first dot point here asks us about making a deposit of a sum into a term deposit. So a term deposit account is like a high interest savings account. So first things first, what you'll need to do is go on, if you just Google high interest savings account, it'll come up with all the different options. Most of them are around about sort of 2%, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, but you should be able to get an interest rate in that 2% category. That interest rate you can leave the same for these first three dot points. Okay, when we do part two, we're going to need a personal loan interest rate, which is going to be higher. All right, but let's just say our interest rate is 2.2%. All right, pretty sort of stock standard. So the first dot point here, what we need to do on our graphics calculator now, if you're doing this on your on your computer, your graphics calculator should look very similar to this. If you're doing it with your own graphics calculator, it might look a little bit different, and your program is going to be called TVM or TVM Solver, but it should be in the same position. All right. So if we just go into financial on this one, or TVM if you're using a different calculator, and go into compound interest, you should be greeted with a screen that looks like this. Okay. So our end value, I'm going to say that my starting wage is going to be $60,000. My holiday is going to be worth $20,000. And my loan term is going to be 4 years, or my investment term is going to be 4 years. All right, so this first part, remember, we're seeing what we need to do to save up this $20,000 in 4 years' time. Okay. We're going to assume that my interest rate is 2.2% and that it is compounded fortnightly. So our end value, remember, refers to our number of compounding periods we have. So that is going to be 26, because there's 26 fortnights in a year, multiplied by however many years we have, which in this case is 4. All right, and we can just press execute there, and it'll come up with 104. So that is the amount of compounding periods we're going to have in this first part one. All right. Our present value, we're going to leave as 0 because that's the thing we're going to be calculating just for this first dot point. Our payments, we're not actually making any regular payments for this first dot point here. So we're going to leave that at 0 as well. And our future value, we want to have $20,000 in there at the end. So we're going to put 20,000 in there. All right. Our payments per year, we need to have as 26 because we're doing it fortnightly, or it's compounding fortnightly. So that needs to be the same as whatever number you used up here to multiply by your 4 years. All right, so I've chosen fortnightly, so mine's going to be 26. If you choose to do yours weekly, your number down here would be 52, and that's going to stay the same for the whole of part one as well. All right. Now from here, what the question is actually asking us to do is say, if I was to try and save up $20,000 without making any regular payments over 4 years, what amount would I need to deposit at the start of that 4 years to get up to $20,000? And we can do that by solving for present value. So this will tell us how much money we would need to have at the start. All right. So what that means is that we would need to deposit $18,315.90. Remember, we always round up to those two decimal places when we're dealing with this sort of stuff. So we would need to deposit that amount at the start of our 4-year period to actually, for the interest to raise up to $20,000 by the end of that 4-year period. Okay, so that is our figure. What you guys will need to do for each one of these dot points is actually write just a summarizing sentence. So something along the lines of, for a term deposit with an interest rate of 2.2% compounded fortnightly, if I was to deposit $18,315.90 at the start of this investment period, I would end up with the $20,000 I need for my holiday. All right, just a summarizing sentence, something along those lines. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but something along those lines. Now, the second dot point, we're going to reset. Okay, so take that back to zero, take the PV and the payment back to zero. We still need $20,000. Our interest rate remains the same. Our end value is going to remain the same. And our payments per year and compounding periods per year remains the same. All right. What we need to do now is have a look at what the dot point says. So making regular payments into a savings account. So this dot point is about how much we would need to put in per fortnight. Remember, we're dealing in fortnights for this one. You guys don't have to, but I'm dealing in fortnights here. How much we'd have to put in per fortnight to actually get this savings account up to $20,000. All right, and we can do that by solving for payment. Okay, so PV stays the same. We're starting with zero money in this account, so PV can stay the same. So we're going to solve for payment now. All right. $184.06 is what we would need to deposit every fortnight for 104 fortnights or 4 years to get up to $20,000. All right, again, you put a little summary sentence in there so that we can sort of tell that you know what you're calculating, because that's what we're really after. We want to know that you guys know the significance and the figures that you're actually calculating. The third point is a mixture of the two. So everything will stay the same, N stays the same, interest rate will stay the same. Our payment we can put back to zero, but let's say I've already got $5,000. All right, I've already got $5,000 at the start of this 4-year investment period, and I've put that into the account. Okay, it's obviously not as much as I'd need because we worked that out in the first one. So I'm going to need to make extra repayments throughout this 4-year period. Now, what we can do then is solve for our PMT value and figure out how much per fortnight we actually need to add in on top of that $5,000, that initial $5,000, to get us up to that $20,000 at the end of the 4-year period. And that figure is $133.81. Okay, so that's what we're sort of figuring out there. The third point is just a combination of what we've done there and there. Make sure that you are solving for the payment. It's just a little bit easier than trying to solve for present value. It'll probably, you can do it the other way, but it's just a little bit easier to do it this way. All right. So that's basically part one. You guys can do a couple of different calculations based on realism. If there's another sort of strategy that you want to investigate that you can find in the textbook, please feel free. What I'm going through here is really just the basic stuff that you'll need to show me that you can do to get a passing grade. All right. The next part we're going to have a look at is taking out a loan to pay for the holiday. So that is basically going in reverse. What I'm going to do is do a separate video for that. All right, so this one, the one that I've just finished then, is for part one. The next video I'll upload will be for part two, which is taking a loan out. All right.